Sure there is. I can see plain as the nose on your face." He leaned back in his desk chair and switched to simply fingering his ring, moving it back and forth with the tip of his thumb. "I know the way we do things in the Navy takes some getting used to, especially for you reservists. They pull you out of nice civilian jobs back home in the United States of North America and stick you out here with a bunch of hard-charging warriors. Let me know what you're thinking. You have permission to speak freely. In fact, that's an order." As if to emphasize this new familiarity, he smiled. A broad smile, as full of small off-white teeth as it was of professed warmth. In his 7 years in the civilian corporate sector, Sam had several times been told by superiors to speak freely, but they had never meant it, any more than Lieutenant Commander Hoon meant it now. But this was different. This was the Navy, and an order from a superior officer here carried the weight of law, or at least so Sam told himself. "Come on, Bitka, spit it out." Sam's heart beat faster, and he took a breath. "Well, sir, I think this is exactly the sort of chicken shit that makes people hate the Navy." For a moment, Hoon froze. Sam expected his superior's face to redden, but instead it lost color, a bad sign. Hoon slowly leaned forward and placed his hands on his desk, palms down and fingers spread. "Chicken shit? You think maintaining proper order on deployment is chicken shit?" "No, sir, but there are 2 sexual liaisons going on among commissioned officers of Puebla's wardroom, including your protege, Lieutenant Goldjune, and every man and woman on this boat below the rank of ensign knows it." "How do they know it?" Hoon demanded. "A destroyer's a small boat, sir. Hard for anything to go on and nobody notice. You want to make a point? Come down hard on the officers. The enlisted personnel will get the message loud and clear." Hoon slowly stood and leaned forward, the knuckles of his tightly balled fists resting on the desktop. "Larry Goldjune is one of the most promising young officers I've ever served with. You wouldn't understand this, Mr. Bitka, but the Navy's in his blood. His father Jake is a rear admiral in viewships, and his uncle Cedric is in line to be the next chief of naval operations. If you think I'm going to blemish Larry's career with a reprimand for something like this, you don't know the United States Navy." Sam was pretty sure he did know the United States Navy, but he did not say that either. "Have it your way, sir. But if you want me to come down on my enlisted personnel for doing what you're winking at among officers, they will despise us, and they will be absolutely right." I'm the goddamned executive officer of this boat. You can't talk to me like that." "Am I to assume then, sir, that your direct order to speak freely has been rescinded?" Hoon glared at him for several long seconds before shaking his head in disgust. "Get out of my sight." "Aye, aye, sir." Out in the corridor, Sam paused and with trembling hands checked his biomonitor to see if he was in danger of a stroke, or perhaps a heart attack. To his surprise, they registered almost normal. Well, he had only been following orders. The broad and warmly lit corridor rose up and away from him to either side, and even though he was used to the optical illusion created by the rotating habitat wheel of the carrier USS Hornet, today it took on an unpleasant significance. No matter which way he turned, sooner or later he would end up back here. For a moment he felt dizzy, but he knew that was simply the Coriolis effect of the habitat wheel's rotation. Its 100-meter radius was not enough to keep his inner ear from noticing his feet moving slightly faster than his head. He took the 4 steps over to the opposite wall and stood at the broad window. It wasn't a window, of course. It was simply a smart wall keyed to show the view aft. The carrier USS Hornet stretched over half a kilometer astern from the habitat wheels, terminating in the intricate lattice-like crossings and recrossings of the interstellar jump drive generator, softly glowing and sparkling against the pitch black of deep space. Between the habitat wheels and the engineering spaces aft, a dozen black vessels clung to the carrier's gray hull in 3 rows, like sticks of dynamite around the torso of a suicide bomber. One of those was his destroyer, USS Puebla. He waited until the rotation of the wheel brought it into view. Apart from the blocky, low-contrast gray hull number, DDR-11, it was indistinguishable from the others. Each one a 140-meter-long dart, the DDRs were austere, angular, and slab-sided to reduce radar reflection.